Hello everyone. My name is Alekhya, Assistant Professor in Cybersecurity Department. Okay. Today we are going to discuss about digital forensic life cycle. What is digital forensic? Digital forensic is nothing but the evidences from the cybercrime. How we have to get that evidences, and we have to analyze them. How we have to analyze them? How we have to use the tools to get the culprit. According to this digital, we can get from digital forensics, and how we have to store them digitally. Everything that comes under digital forensic life cycle. So digital forensic life cycle is the process from the evidence from the crime scene to the end to the court. Everything that comes under digital forensic life cycle. So the contents in this are digital forensic life cycle and the digital forensics process and the phases in computer forensics or digital forensics, and the precautions to be taken when collecting electronic evidences. These are the contents today we are going to discuss. Okay. First, so digital forensic life cycle. So here, as per FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, they mainly view digital evidence is present in every crime scene. So they mainly accept that in every crime scene, digital evidence is present in every crime scene. Okay. So this is why law enforcement must know how to recognize, seize, transport and store original digital evidence to preserve it for forensic examination. So for forensic to submit the evidences of the cyber crimes, to submit the witnesses, evidences, they have to collect, they have to store, they have to transport it to the original digital evidences to the court of law by using digital forensic life cycle. So okay, these are some cardinal rules to remember are that evidences. Okay, these are some rules to remember whether the evidence is admissible. So is it validate or not? So first, is it validate or not? Is there any duplications for that evidences? Is it complete evidence or not? And is reliable? Is it believable or not? And is understandable? Is the evidence is understandable or not? Okay, these are some rules for in digital forensic life cycle. Okay, in digital forensic life cycle, what are the things to remember for evidence is the evidence is admissible. So is it valid or not? Okay, is it valid or not? And is authentic. So is there any copy of the documentation? Is there any copy of the documentation? And is complete. Is the given evidence is complete or not? Okay, is reliable. Is the evidence is believable by the court of law or not? Is understandable by the court of law or not? Everything that comes under rules of digital forensic life cycle. Digital forensic life cycle. Everything that comes under digital forensic life cycle. So digital forensic life cycle, the evidence is what we are collected digitally, that has to be valid, there should not be any duplicates, and that should be complete, and that should be believable by the court of law, and it should be understandable by the court of law. Okay. And next, the digital forensic process. So what is the process in this? Is here the digital forensic process need to understand in the digital context stating from preparation of the evidence to testifying. So for the evidence, what we have collected, that should be prepared for testifying. Here the digital forensics, the complete process, that we have to understand where legal context from starting from the preparation of evidence. So from the preparation of evidence to testifying, from the preparation of evidence to testifying, the process in between this, that should be understandable. That should be understandable by the legal context. It should be in the legal context, and they should be understandable. And next one, digital forensics evidence. Digital forensic evidence consists of exhibits, each consisting of sequence of bits presented by witnesses in legal matter to help jurors establish the facts of the case and support or refute legal theories of the case. Okay, the jurors, the person who is undertaking the case, his role is to establish the facts of the case and support and he will take the evidences of digital evidences from the expert, and he have to examine that it should be supportive or it should be rejected by the legal theories of the case. According to the legal theories of the case, it should be supported or not. He has to decide. The jurors who is undertaking the case, who is undertaking the evidences, that the person has to that person has to examine it should be supported or it should be refuted. That means it should be rejected or not. Okay, next one, the tie between the technical issues associated with the digital forensic evidence and the legal theories. It's the subject of expert witnesses. It's the subject of the expert witnesses. It's the tie between the tie between the technical issues associated with the digital forensic evidences, and the legal theories. That should be the technical issues associated with the digital forensic evidences and the legal theories. Here, the job of expert witnesses should be to know the different. So what are the issues technically, and what is the digital forensics? Those that should be associated and the main job of expert witnesses is to solve those technical issues and digital forensic evidences. Okay, here the testimony is presented to establish the process to identify, collect, preserve, store, transfer or reconstruct the information contained in the exhibits. So up to then, so from first to last, so from the preparation of the evidences to the submission of the court, so everything that should be testified. Here the testified means the testimony is presented, like the identification, the collection, how they have preserved, how they have stored the information, how they transfer the evidences, if there is any misuse of the data, how the reconstruction has been done. Everything has been in the testimony. And this is the process model. For understanding a seizure and handling of forensic evidence legal frame. Digital forensic life cycle is: first one, the identification or preparation, search and seizure, preservation, after that examination, analysis, reporting. First one, identification or preparation phase. In this phase is mainly used for recognizing the incident, where the incident is happened. So what are the tools and techniques they have used? So what are the search warrants? So for searching, the warrants has to be taken from the court of law. And authentication. So to break the authentication, they have to take the permissions from the government. Like that, these steps has been followed in this phase. First one, recognize the incident, where the incident is done. So what are the tools and techniques we have to use, or what are the tools and techniques in the crime? In the crime they have seen the tools and techniques. What are the tools and techniques they have used in the crime? Like that, these are the things they have to see in the identification or preparation phase. And next, search and seizure. Search and seizure means recognize the evidence. So we have to recognize the evidence and collect the evidence. So at that place, if there is any crime happened in a place, place should be seized, and at that place we have to recognize some, we have to collect some evidences, we have to recognize those evidences. The next step, and the next step is preservation. So after collecting the evidence, how we have to secure those evidence, how we have to protect the integrity of evidence. So for for storing the evidences also we have some policies. We have some policies for storing the evidences. Everyone will not have the access to take those evidences. So preservation is the third phase, and fourth phase is examination. Examination means, is there any duplications to that evidence? Is there any deletion of data for that evidence? So how we have to recover the data? How we have to delete the duplications of that evidence? We have to see in the examination phase. Okay. In analysis phase, determine significance. Determine significance. What are the things? What are the situations happen in the determine the significance. What are the importance of, how important, if any evidence, how important it is, if any evidence is there, how important it is to the case, the case, it should be determined. And reconstruct fragments of data. We have to reconstruct the fragments of data and draw conclusions. We have to draw some conclusions for that. And reporting. In reporting phase, we have to summarize the case. We have to translate and explain the conclusions. We have to explain the conclusions. And after that, if there is any these are all used for digital evidence documentation. Everything has to be documented. So there should be identification and preparation documentation, search and seizure documentation, preservation documentation, examination documentation, analysis documentation, reporting documentation. Everything has to be documented. Everything has to be documented. And if there is any misuse of in this process, then the chain of custody will be breakdown. Chain of custody will be breakdown if there is any misuse of these phases. Okay. And next one, the phases in digital in computer. So what are the phases? First one. So what is means here the investor must be properly trained. First of all, the investor has to know all the tools and techniques and where they have to be applied. So here the investor must be properly trained to perform the kind of investigation that is at hand. So what is the case in his hand, and how it is happened, how to investigate that, and what are the tools, what are the techniques that they have to use to get the evidences. That here the investor has to know all the things. And tools that are used to generate reports from court of law. Court should be validated. So tools that are generated from the court should be validated. And one should determine the proper tool to be used on the case. So here one should determine the proper tool. The tools what we are using should be based on the case only. Here the forensic life cycle phases are, in first case, preparation and identification, and collection and recording. What are the things? Preparation and identification. So what are the things we have identified in the crime? We have to be, in this phase we have to be identified, and how we have to collect, how we have to store, examine, how we have to examine, analysis, and after that analysis, interpretation and attribution, reporting, testifying, everything. These are all the phases of life cycle. And what are the activities? What are the activities in this? In this we have prepare, record, investigate, report, testify. In prepare, how we have to prepare the evidences, how we have to record the evidences, how we have to investigate the case based on the evidences, how we have to report the witnesses, how we have to testify all this process. These are the activities that are done in the digital forensic life cycle. Okay, after that, storing and transporting digital evidence, what are the things we have to do? For storing and digital evidences, these are some practices that have been adopted in handling digital evidences. So for handling digital evidence, we have to maintain these. These are the main important points we have to keep in mind. Okay, first, image computer media using a write blocking tool to ensure that no data is added on the suspect device. So in the suspect device, that there should be no data added by using write block tool. If we install any write block tool in the suspect device, then there is no data added in the suspect device. Suppose, for example, is there any a cell phone is suspected device in a case. So in that, when we have installed write block tool, then there is no data added or no data deleted from that suspect device. And next, establish and maintain chain of custody. So it is very important. Chain of custody should be maintained at each and every point of the case process. The digital evidence, the process of the case. So from one person to another person, where it is going, the evidences or the evidences from one person to another person, where it is going, at what time it has been handled to one person to another person. Everything that has to be maintained in a digital form. That should be everything that should be recorded in a digital form. And next one, document everything that has been done. What the things that has been done. For example, in first day, they have been collected some evidences. In second day, they have stored the information. Third day, they have given to some forensic expert. Fourth day, they have the expert has done some by using some tools and techniques. They have gathered some fingerprints like that. The forensic expert can gather in forensic fingerprints. And fifth day, they have generated some reports like that. Everything has to be documented. Everything has to be documented, and only use tools and methods that has been testified before. So before, what are the tools and techniques they have used, and what are the in the court of law, what are the permissions they have given. By using those tools and techniques and methods only, we have to validate the accuracy and reliability. We have to validate their accuracy and reliability by using the tools that have permissions and permissions only. Those techniques that we have to use to analyze the evidences. And next one, what are the precautions? What are the precautions to be taken when collecting electronic evidence? If we collect any electronic evidences, what are the precautions we have to take? Okay, first, when evidence preparation and identification, one should identify the strategy, policies, and previous investigations. So what are the investigations done previously? How the previous investigations has done? So what are the policies? What is the strategy of the case? So everything that has to be in mind, that has to be identified when evidence is prepared. And next, in collection and recording, when we are collection and recording, the preserving and transport phase of one should prevent people from using the digital device or allowing other electromagnetic devices to be used within the affected area. So the affected area, no other person should be allowed to make the recordings or allow others to use those electromagnetic devices at that affected area. And one should prevent people from using the digital devices. Everything that should be keep in mind. And next one, in examination and investigation and analysis phase and interpretation and attribution phase, one should determine how data is produced, and when the data is produced and whom, and also validate the techniques to find the interpret that significant data. the data what we have used, how the data has came. So in investigation phase, it should be determined. And in presentation and reporting phase, one should prepare and present the information resulting from analysis phase. So from resulting from analysis phase, everything that should be documented. Like that should be everything. What are the things that has been done in the case? What are the evidences? Who are the witnesses? What are the evidence devices, electromagnetic devices that are used in that? Everything that should be reported to the court of law. And when discriminating the case, like when the dismissing the case, one should determine how and what criminal evidence must be removed. So what are the things that has to be removed and what should be preserved for gaining the knowledge for other cases, upcoming cases, how to preserve our knowledge, everything. When discriminating the case, one should be determined what criminal evidence must be removed, what are the things that can be removed, what are the things that unwanted, we can delete that evidences, and we have to preserve the evidences for further cases. So further we have to gain knowledge. And these are some principles. So these are some principles for sorry, for collection and recording. Here for collection and recording, we have some for example, in computer we have embedded memories. Embedded memories like ROM, PROM, EPROM and EEPROM. So ROM, random ROM, read-only memory. It is tried to store the information, store the data permanently. It is used for storing the data permanently. It is an inbuilt chip in a computer. And PROM, programmable read-only memory. Erasable, programmable read-only memory. Electrically erasable, programmable read-only memory. So these are the devices that we are used in computer, embedded memory, for storing the data. When it comes to PROM, if there is any shutdown of computer due to electricity problem, so it will store the data. So when deleting the data, it will in PROM the data is stored when the electricity is shut down. And EPROM is the erasable programmable read-only memory. So it will store the data without the use of the electricity. And EPROM, so it is the device used for storing the data through electrically, like it will store the data, EEPROM. Okay, so these are some computer embedded devices, some computer embedded memories, so that can used for storing the information, storing the data. And to maintain the integrity of the evidence, to maintain the integrity of the evidence. So these are some principles. So to maintain the integrity of the evidence, these are some principles. So first principle we have to apply is no action taken by law enforcement agencies. So the agencies of the law enforcement or their agencies should change the data held on computer or stored media. So the data what we have taken as evidence, there is no other party. If there is from government side, like if they are from law enforcement agents or any persons, like from the persons of agencies, law enforcement agencies, there is no action taken. There is no access for them. There is no access for them to change the data held on the computer. This is the first principle. And coming to the second principle. So in exceptional circumstances where a person find it necessary to access data, be able to give evidence. So explaining the relevant and implications of their actions. So any other in some exceptional cases, is there any person who is relevant and implications of the in some exceptional circumstances, if any person who is accessing the data of evidence that given, so he has to be responsible for why he has done the access to the data, and why it should be acceptable, and it should be the implications of their actions should be reliable. And coming to the third principle, an audit trail or other record of all processes applied to computer-based electronic evidences should be created and preserved. So the audit trail or other record of all the processes that apply to computer-based electronic evidence. So the electronic evidences that based on the computer that should be created and preserved by an audit trail or other record of all processes. And coming to the fourth principle, the person in charge of investigation, the process in charge of investigation, the person who is in charge of investigation has overall responsibility for ensuring that the law and these principles are adhered to. So he is the responsible for any loss of evidence or change of data of evidence, everything. That the person who is in charge of investigation has the responsibility to secure the data. So what we have discussed today, so what is digital forensic life cycle, and what are the digital forensic life cycle, what is the digital forensic process, and the model for understanding the forensic evidence. So how to do digital evidence documentation, and what are the phases in computer, what are the phases in digital digital forensic life cycle, and what are the actions, and how to store and transport digital evidence, and what are the precautions we have to take when collecting electronic evidence, and what are the principles applicable to maintain the integrity of the evidence. So integrity of the evidence means the policies for the evidence. So like who have to access that evidence, who have the authority to, who have the access to the to examine the evidence. So the policies that should be maintained by using these principles. Okay, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.